Hello, everybody. I'm Toby Shifsky, where I'm the Vice President of Kaplan Real Estate Education, and I'm here with none other than Elka Graham. Elka, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, this is our Real Experts webinar series, and in our series here, we try to bring timely, relevant, kind of hot topics to our students, to professionals in the real estate industry. And so today, we're going to be talking about professionalism in real estate. What does it mean? It's not just a set of rules, but a mindset, a commitment, an ethical and competent service. And we're going to talk about all those things. And for everybody here, we're actually in really good shape. If you don't know Elka, let me go ahead and introduce Elka to everybody. Elka Graham is a real estate and dispute resolution expert dedicated to ethical conduct and agent development. Man, I want that in my title line. That sounds pretty good. She holds degrees, and this is the part, like you must have started when you were 5, but holds degrees in sociology, political science, public administration, and a Juris Doctor with a focus on alternative dispute resolution. Kind of like that. Joining Kaplan Real Estate Education in 2024, she's newer to our team as the Tennessee Instructor Supervisor and Lead Instructor. So all things the state of Tennessee for us and our students, Elka is a part of and leading that effort. Elka is also licensed as a real estate agent in Alabama, and licensed as a broker in Tennessee and an agent mentor. So we've got some experience coming. She serves as a contract compliance analyst with her brokerage on their internal dispute resolution panel, empowering agents through her knowledge of contract compliance, risk management, ethical practices. So for those of you who've been in the business for a while, when you hand in your contract, your broker is generally going to have somebody take a look at it and make sure it's done right. And for all you people who are fresh and new and you're a little nervous, you might want to make really nicely with somebody like Elka in your brokerage, because she's going to be handing you back your contract saying, you got to make sure this gets done right. This gets done right. So, which is why we love having her in our licensing classes, so we know that things are done right. Elka is also the founder and CEO of Graham Mediation. I almost said meditation. I bet you could use some meditation once in a while, Elka. Uh,
Definitely.
Graham Mediation and Consulting, where she specializes in civil litigation matters. So when things don't get resolved, they go to resolution. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a bit. Her commitment to industry integrity extends to her service on the Tennessee Realtors Professional Standards and Ombudsman Mediation Committees, where she advocates for professionalism, continuous learning, and ethical responsibility, making her a member and rising leader in the real estate industry. Elka, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. Looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
absolutely. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and jump in. Everybody, if you don't remember how this goes, if you have never been to a Real Expert webinar, you get to participate. We've already had everybody kind of throw in where they're in the chat to everybody where you're coming from, what state you're in. If you haven't done that yet and you just jumped on, go ahead and throw it in the chat. We've had numerous responses already, but it looks like we're covering the whole country. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go through kind of this topic with Elka, and it's going to take about 35-45 minutes. You're going to have a chance to ask questions all the way along. We have Jamie Cash from Kaplan on to help with some of those questions. Elka and I will also be watching the questions. So we'll be able to answer as we go. And we're going to ask a poll question or two. And just so you know, your chats are not anonymous. We do see your names, but the poll question responses are anonymous. So please be honest because it helps the discussion. In fact, Elka, I'm going to go ahead and ask a poll question right off the bat for everybody so that we can understand who is actually in the audience right now. So we can kind of tailor this because we'll have everybody from people who are still sitting in licensing courses to people who've been licensed for 10 plus years. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and ask the question right now. Everybody, you should be able to see a poll question up on your screen. We always share the results, so everybody play along. Poll question: how long have you been had a real estate license? How about this? I don't even have a license. I'm currently taking classes at Kaplan, or right, less than 3 years. How about you, brave people got in during COVID? Love it. 3 to 5 years, same thing. 5 to 10 years, 10 plus years. And then also we got people who not even getting their license yet. They're just coming to kind of figure, boy, you know what? This is a webinar. I'm interested in real estate. I'm interested in getting my license. And so for those of you coming in who aren't even sitting in classes yet, we hope you do. And once again, you're going to see Elka today and kind of what Kaplan kind of stands for in the world of real estate. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and share this. And this is pretty much what I expected. So 3, 2, 1, I'm going to end it and I'm going to share the results. Look at that, everybody. So about 2/3 of the people here are still sitting in their licensing classes. Elka, you probably have some of these people in your sessions, your live
Oh,
online sessions.
that's possible.
Yeah, right on. So Elka does the
Yeah.
Tennessee Live Online sessions. So less than 3 years, 5%, 3 to 5 years. Look at that, 2%, 5 to 10, 3, 10 plus years. You people have been in this for 10 plus years. I sure hope you're playing along with us today. Feel free to bring your wisdom to the chat and don't be afraid to ask some questions. So, and then look at that, looking to get a license. Love it, 18%. Okay. That's kind of a long run up, Elka, but we kind of understand who we got here in the audience, but everybody's going to get something out of this. And I got to just kind of jump right in because what is professionalism? What does it mean to people? Sometimes I feel like professionalism is almost better if you kind of focus on a couple things. Like if I'm going to ask you, Elka, what are the key aspects of professionalism in real estate to you, and why are they important? What do you think it is to be a professional?
Um, I think in real estate, we are trusted with some of the largest transactions of most people's lives. So I think some key aspects are going to be definitely communication, integrity, competence, making certain that you're serving your clients, you're protecting your clients. We our appearance in everything that we do. We are our brand, and that's our professionalism. And we have to build that. We have to protect that, and that's what our clients see.
Yeah, I think I heard you there. There's about the perception of who you are, right? So the aspect is what's the perception of who you are. And I think the other thing I heard was are you protecting your clients? And I think that's a part of this role in real estate where you are basically hired in an employment agreement from either a buyer or a seller, right? And you're hired to do certain things. And generally, when you enter into those contracts, you enter into a certain amount of fiduciary responsibilities. Like by law, you are supposed to be loyal and obedient. And for those of you who are sitting in licensing, you probably have seen or you're about to see the acronym OLD CAR, right? Well, obedience, loyalty, disclosure, all these things that are required by law. And I think, what I heard you say was that the professional aspect is really kind of starts with, are you protecting your client? Are you doing everything you're supposed to do in a fiduciary capacity? And then everything else kind of spills out from that, right? And I heard one other thing that I think is going to be a reoccurring theme for us is, a lot of people join becoming. In fact, I think that some of you people have been in it for 3, 4, 5 years, who kind of joined during COVID. People join for all different reasons, and they enter this career. Um, and I think they do it because they want to take control of their life. They want to be the boss. Yes, you have a
Mhm,
broker, but your broker's not your boss. Your broker is your business partner when you start in
mhm,
real estate, right? And so they want to call their own shots, and that's great. But it also means, you're responsible for your professionalism and how you
mhm,
present that, right?
mhm.
So,
Yes.
so what's your conduct? Is it ethical? Competence, knowledge, all those things you said, I think are extremely important. What are the common pitfalls you see, Elk? I mean, you're there looking at contracts, which man are riddled with pitfalls, but thankfully there's people like you to help with that. But then there's mistakes that they make, just in speaking with people, just in social media. What are the common pitfalls or mistakes agents make that you see that can damage their professional reputation, and how can they be avoided? What do you see, and then how do you make sure it doesn't happen to you?
Well, I believe that communication is extremely important in this field. If you don't have good communication skills, there's definitely going to be a problem. So I think being very clear in your communication. I heard an agent say that they send follow-up emails. When they talk to a client, they have a verbal conversation, people hear things, perceive things differently. They send a follow-up email that says, hey, we discussed this, and this. Therefore, you've got it in writing.
Mm,
You've communicated it back to the client. And if they have a question, they can stop and call immediately and say, hey, I thought we said this versus this, and then you can clear that up. So I think having good communication skills is definitely key. Um, Making certain that you're not over promising and under delivering.
mm, mm, mm.
Really want to set that tone. I may be a little too realistic sometimes. That may be a fault of mine, but I definitely want to be realistic and when I'm speaking to clients, and sometimes that can be a little difficult, but it's our job to that's our job to do
I,
that.
I think that's a huge point, and it is a trap. But
Hmm.
your first 2 points I think are really key. And maybe I'll just take them both a little separately if you don't mind, because I know people have questions, but because there's tools available, like your understanding of communication, love that, and then kind of reiterating what you talked about to somebody for real clarification. What happens is, and those people have been in the business a while, you get into it and you forget what you didn't know. And for a lot of home sellers and people in real estate, selling something or buying something, they don't do it often, and they've maybe never done it, right? So
Hmm.
they don't really get it, and you just kind of blow through things and you think you have an understanding, and they don't really have an understanding. And
Right.
so clarity. So I think about kind of some tools that are available. So
Hmm.
I know that it's very popular to have a Zoom call, kind of how we're on Zoom right now, or some sort of a video conference with people. There is some fantastic summary tools now with AI within there. Will summarize your conversation. It'll
Hmm.
record it for you, and you can automatically email it afterwards. I would look for services like that for your phone, for your video hangouts with your clients, that will summarize what was said. You check it before it's sent, make any corrections, and then you send it. But it
Hmm.
makes it super easy, and it
Yeah.
makes it's just a clarity to what you're doing and the plan, and it looks professional. I think
Right.
I mean, I could see those tools really coming in handy in today's world.
Mhm. Definitely. We didn't have that a while ago, so you had to kind of take notes by
Oh,
hand and go home and
oh,
email them out, and that's time consuming. But now we can do that in what, 5 minutes. You've recorded
yeah.
it, you edit it, and send.
And another thing with that is it does record it. And so, you know, understand it's going to record you. And so there is a part in here about an ethical behavior when speaking with, and a lawful behavior first and foremost, not to mention an ethical behavior, understanding that it kind of ratchets it up. Those tools ratchet up that you have to be aware that what you're saying could be recorded, could be, all those things. Um, and then you got to follow state laws on recording people, all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, when you come into a meeting, the other person agrees to taking notes, and you say, "This way we share notes," and off we go. So
Right.
uh, I think it's super good tools and a super way to make sure there's clear communication. Because there's one other thing that you said that I think is important, and maybe we could talk about it a little bit. And I'd love to get some tips from some of those people who've been in it in the business for a while. Yeah, look at Paul says, have them repeat it back so that we know that you really understand what I'm telling you in the chat. So once again, people put your questions and thoughts in the chats. But the setting the proper expectation is where I really understand the difference. Now I've been licensed for 30 some years, and worked in hundreds of transactions, and you can tell when you're with a professional, because the professional sets the right expectations. And I think you talked about this, Elka, like situations where people make outlandish promises as an agent, or
Mhm.
I don't want to say lie, but you don't set the proper expectation. I mean, have you
Mhm.
seen this where people get in trouble when a client thinks one thing because you've led him to believe one thing?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, and it can get tricky because if that doesn't happen because you set that expectation, now you've got to find a way to go back and kind of smooth that over or kind of hit the reset button. And
right.
then someone may be upset, and then you've got emotions to deal with on top of this unrealistic expectation. So don't set yourself up that way.
Yeah, right on, right on.
Yeah.
I think that's super interesting. Setting the expectation and making
Mhm.
sure you're doing it right. Um,
Yep.
because there are some difficult things, right? I mean, that sometimes setting a lower expectation is an advantage also,
Yep.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Um,
good. Well, let's get into some kind of more meaty stuff. And I know you wanted to talk about this in the digital age. How has the definition of professionalism kind of evolved for real estate agents?
Oh, wow, the digital age. Yeah, with technology, I think it's a case where we're always on, essentially. There's no off period. We have to carry our integrity, our competence, our respect into all of our online interactions, from emails to social media, while still continuing to protect our clients' privacy. Just really furthering a brand that we can be proud of. We don't have, like I said earlier, we everybody's walking around with a video camera in their hand. So any small interaction can go viral immediately. So we just have to always be that professional person. You are your brand. You are your brand walking around wherever you are, at the grocery store, at Walmart, wherever you are. People recognize you. If you're on social media and you're doing this the right way, people recognize you. And so you're always Elka Graham the realtor. You're never not. And we have to be aware of that.
I think that's a really good point. But let me ask you, there used to be the question, and it kind of plays into this, if I could just kind of put it in perspective, let me ask you, like, what kind of car do I have to drive if I'm a real estate expert?
I don't think it matters. I mean, I think that there are people that will judge you based on that. However, if what comes out of your mouth is competent, professional, and they can tell that you know what you're talking about and you bring that confidence into that meeting, into that communication, I think you're going to shine. And I think you would have to look at the big picture. If if your vehicle is going to be a priority over them getting the best real estate agent in the area to take on their transaction, maybe that's not the client for you. Um, just big picture it.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think to me that question, which has been asked for decades, by the way,
Hmm.
everybody asks that question
Yeah.
at some point, like, wow, what should I?
Hmm.
And we got Chris on. First off, Lisa saying Toby's talking too much. I hear you, Lisa. We're gonna crack Elka open here and let her just go because she's gonna get on a riff. Uh, the point, don't, Chris says, I don't want to waste money on expensive cars. Here's what it comes down to is what is being a professional.
Hmm.
And once again, Elka, I think you said it really good at the beginning. Uh, it's are you taking care of your client? Are you doing what you need to do? Are you protecting? Are you loyal? Are you doing your fiduciary responsibilities and then some for your client?
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and but this question about your image, right, in a digital age, and what you say and what you do. I mean, there can be consequences for doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing,
That's
especially
true.
in social media, right? Which I mean, I think of the day when I was young. Thank goodness there weren't phones, right? I mean, I remember, really, with all the cameras and everything. But
Mhm.
today, you put something on and it can last forever in the digital world. I mean,
Mhm.
how do you navigate that professional image in social media when some people blend? Uh,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
what do you think?
It's a personal decision, I think. I think that, as realtors, we're all adults at this point. Um, Hopefully we're all working from some sort of a business plan where you sat down at some point, you determine what your business wants to look like for the year, what volume you want to do, whatever your goal is for the year. And I think that before you're posting or doing anything on social media, if this is your professional image, then I think you have to look back at your business plan and say, does that further my goal? Um, is this in line with what I sat down and said, this is what I want to do with my brand this year? And when it comes to those issues, we all have to remember it's okay to say nothing. It's okay to let that moment pass and say nothing and stay on brand, stay on topic, stay on goal. Don't, when we start to drive on the side of the road, we kind of get lost. Stay on topic, stay on brand, stay on point, and you'll achieve your goals.
What do you think about people that say you or do have two different kind of social media personas?
For, that's not something that I could maintain. I would love to get some comments from the audience on that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something that I can maintain. I've seen people who do, who say they prefer to have a personal page and a professional page. Um, for me, I think the settings are difficult. You accidentally toggle one switch one way or the other, and everything's public. So at some point, I think for me, I made a choice in my career that this is who I am. I mean, this is who I am. I'm always this person. And if there's something that I want to discuss that's controversial, I do that amongst my friend group. I just don't feel the need to bring that to my professional brand. And I don't know. I'm trying to see comments here. I
Yeah.
want to I want to know how everybody feels about that because I just don't think I can maintain a personal and a professional persona. Um,
My
it's a
kids
lot
are
of work.
really good at it, which is crazy, right? So I got the late teens, early 20s, and
Uh-huh.
they have the Instagram I see, then they have the private one. They're like built for this, but
Oh wow.
for
Mm-mm.
me, really hard to try to run two different Facebook pages and two different blah blah blah. For some, super easy. The
Right.
reason I really bring it up is, and we could just touch on this, but the National Association of Realtors. So, 2/3 of all real estate licensees end up joining the association to become realtors. And just so
Mm-hmm.
everybody's clear, in order to hold the realtor, trademarked name, you have to agree to abide by their code of ethics, which is a standard higher than the law. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and there was just a big rule change in the code of ethics, which really has to do with Article 10, which prohibits hate speech and harassment.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the change is, listen, because what was happening was people were being basically removed from the Realtors Association because they were posting some really kind of politically, I wouldn't say politically charged, but more hate charged comments
Mm-hmm. Right.
online, and they were being removed. Um, well, the association got a lot of feedback and listened to the members and listened to the public and said, listen, okay, here's what we'll do then. When you're acting in a professional capacity, you have to abide by the association laws, which is, you know what, that you can't do hate speech and harassment in
Right.
your posts. But if
Right.
you're on a personal, you can do what you want to do. And so there are a lot of people who carry two things, but you
Mm-hmm.
should just be aware too I mean that's why. Do you know of anybody who carries two, Elka, that really does two different personas?
I've listened to other people talk about this topic, and some people have said they do, and I think it's difficult. I don't want to maintain that. I have a personal page, I have a professional page. They're both public. I just don't engage in that in an online forum.
Yeah.
That's my personal choice. If that's something you want to do, I just urge you to make certain that your settings are okay. And always be aware, screenshots can be taken. So while you're maintaining a personal and a professional, there's nothing to guarantee that a screenshot can't be taken and reposted in a public forum that you're not in control of. So that's one of the things that we have to be aware of in this digital age. It happens. So, um,
No, right on.
that's why I said I think it's just best and safest and a part of my business plan that if it's not on brand and if it's not on topic, it's not something I engage in a public forum. And just be aware of that. Take that risk assessment with your business plan and say, hey, how does this affect my end goal? If I
Yeah.
do this, it goes badly. How does this affect my end goal? Where do I end up according to my business plan if I make this choice? It's a business decision.
Wow. Well, there you go, right? So look at Maya says the same thing. You have to assess the risk of having both, right?
Mhm,
And running two
mhm,
different personas. I do because we also have Heather that says, in her brokerage, you got 40 plus agents have both professional page and a personal page. And here's the thing, having a professional page and a personal page, I mean, for most people, for me, it would be too difficult to try to manage two different personas. It's the same me,
right.
right? And so,
Mhm,
but one might have more for friends and family, and the other one is just business facing and business
mhm,
driving. So,
mhm,
even NAR, the National Association of Realtors, says, you can do both and you can have two different personas, but make sure your business facing one is at the standard, the Realtor standard. And
right.
here, and then one last little thing on this, I think, because there's some, it doesn't have to be the last thing, but there's some good stuff coming in from the chats. But um, the one thing you're not released from, no matter what your persona, uh, is you are committed and bound to fair housing laws. Uh, as a
Mhm,
licensee in every state in the country. In fact, it's a federal law, and each state generally has additional things on top of it. So you have to be aware that you can't just go out and say anything. As a licensee, it's not just the association's ethics that you have to be concerned about. You also, as a licensed professional, have a certain standard of conduct, which by law is you must adhere to federal fair housing laws.
right.
So non-discriminatory behavior, all those things. You have to do that
Mhm,
no matter what.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, super cool. We got more stuff coming in. Uh, Let me think, Regina, if I post something and someone doesn't do business with me because of it, then I have to ask myself, would I want to do business with them anyway? Boom. Well, there you go. There's a perspective, right?
Right. Right. And that's
Right
the risk
on.
assessment part. Are you willing to lose that business because of that post? And if you decide that you are, then
Then
yeah,
then that's your business decision, though.
that's
Once
your
again,
business.
you've made
Right.
a business decision. Yeah,
Right.
super interesting. Well, keep that conversation going. But here's what I think about, how can agents kind of effectively navigate? Like so when we have situations that arise with a client or how about even with another agent, how can agents effectively navigate difficult or, let's say, emotionally charged situations with clients while maintaining a high level of professionalism? Because, Elka, in today's world, everything seems to be a little charged,
Mhm.
and everything seems to be people have information at their fingertips, right? So they'll will Google something or they will chat GPT something and they'll come up with what they think the definitive answer is on something and become very agitated and heated if there's some sort of a question, or there's some sort of an argument about something. Let me ask, how can agents effectively navigate difficult or emotionally charged situations? What have you seen? What are you doing?
I think in emotional situations, one of the best things we can do is probably listen more than we speak. Active listening is very helpful, especially if it's an emotional situation. Sometimes that person just wants to be heard, and them being heard can sometimes relieve a little bit of the pressure. So sometimes just letting them have that moment to speak is helpful. I think this is where we have an opportunity to really display our expertise, because when you are working with someone who may have incorrect information, you have an opportunity to correct that information. And it's so much better if you have the ability to show them a source with that correct information. So this is where our expertise really shines. I can go to the comps that I pulled and show you where this property is, better priced at this amount versus this amount. You got that prepared, you got that information there. Um, I think we have to empathize with our clients and the position they're in, because some people can be in some difficult situations, and that causes a lot of emotion. And we have to remain professional at all times and protect our client. And sometimes that means protecting them from themselves as well. So we have to help them sometimes get over that bridge that they may not want to get over. That's our job to do that.
I love the your active listening kind of response. Sometimes, when I was first in the business, I would try to talk my way through something or over something.
Mhm.
And it was funny how I had a very good manager once who just said, "Toby, you just need to listen more." And I was like, "Huh." Uh, but it's interesting how when somebody believes they're heard, even though you don't agree with them, as long as they believe they're heard, it can really diffuse some things very quickly, even to the point where you can agree to disagree, but I hear you, I understand that's how you feel. So I think that for me, the big move was removing the emotional part out of it, which, like you said, I think through active listening is a way you can emotionally discharge a situation. Then you can
Mhm.
talk about what the problem is, and then even more so, you talk about what some solutions are, right? To navigate to solutions.
Right.
We've got some really good questions coming in. Regina says, in these charged times, Elka, uh, with all the hateful speech against certain groups, both sides of whatever political item, whatever country, whatever, I mean, it's all out there. How do you balance your belief with the barrage of negativity? How do you balance your belief with the charge of negativity?
Well, my beliefs, I don't really, it doesn't really play into my business or my professionalism. That's my personal beliefs. Um, I agree and disagree just like everyone else. But if you contact me about selling a house, I'm going to talk to you about selling a house. I may agree with your beliefs, I may not agree with your beliefs. I'm probably going to try to not even bring my beliefs into the transaction, because I don't really see that it's relevant. We're not having that conversation. We're talking about selling your house or finding you a house to buy. If we're in a mediation, I'm not, that's not the place and time for that. That's the way I handle it. And just like I said before, you see things on social media, you don't have to interact with those, you don't have to repost those. That's your choice. And I think you were the person that made the comment earlier. If that's a risk assessment that you've taken for your business plan, and you've determined that this is an issue that you feel passionately enough about, that you want to be a part of, do that business plan risk assessment and make your business decision. That this is all from a business standpoint.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of agree, totally agree, right on, absolutely. And I can tell you, I've had plenty of people that I've served in a professional capacity where same thing. You know
Hmm.
what? I don't have to go there. I'm not hired for my opinion on that. I'm hired
Right,
as a professional.
right.
And I've always kind of hung on one thing that was for me an advantage of being a part of the National Association of Realtors, which is this ethical behavior component,
Hmm.
which is
Right.
not only the law but a little bit higher standard. And but even just the law, for me, there was a big part of you know fair housing that I thought was really kind of what had us stand apart from everybody else in numerous industries, is we had something that we could hang our hats on and say, I don't really care what your political point of view is. I don't care what religion. I don't care. I just want to do good business. I just want you to find the home of your dreams. I want you to sell, at a great price and terms that you need.
Mhm.
I don't really need to partake in that part.
Right,
And I
right.
found that it's a smoother operation. Now, don't get me wrong. Have you ever had, Elka, a situation where you have had or you know somebody who's had a client who's asked you to behave like they behave in contrary to fair housing laws, where they wanted you to discriminate in some way?
I have not had that happen, but I have
Mhm.
heard of people who have had that happen. And my advice is according to NAR ethics, you have to refuse that as an unlawful instruction. That's our guidance. You have to refuse that, and that may mean that you don't have that client,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah,
Yep.
we talked a little bit earlier, some of the chat where people were talking about, firing a client, getting rid of a client. And there are times when you just might have to. And generally, for sure, the bright line is when they ask you to do something that's not lawful, right?
Hmm.
And you are governed by laws as a licensee. And so at that point, there's no questions, you should terminate your relationship. Make sure you always check with your broker on how they want you to handle that. But you know what? Nobody can ask you to break the law. Uh,
Right.
yeah,
That's correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
super cool. So, what resources or habits do you recommend? This level of professionalism we're talking about. There's so many like traps out there. There's so many, you know, avenues and venues for there to be complexity and confusions. But let me ask you, what resources or habits do you recommend, Elka, for real estate professionals, kind of to continuously develop their competence, stay current with industry standards and really, regulations too. What do you think the habits are?
Um, One of my big things is always going to be education. Education. Um, Continuing education is, oh my gosh, I have so many continuing education hours over what I'm supposed to have every time, because I just always want to know more. And I think that definitely helps to develop your brand. If you are going to work with probate issues, I think if you're taking classes on probate, that's stuff that you should be posting on your social media. Hey, let people know that I'm your probate person. You got a probate, come to me. You're in that class. Education is always going to be a big one for me. Stay involved in just the industry as a whole. There's so many different resources online, just webinars like this. There's always somebody doing something on real estate. I will caution you to make certain that the information that you're taking in is good, true, and accurate information. Always check your sources when you're reposting. I think we have, and this is a personal brand of mine, a personal duty of mine, that I feel like I have the duty to make certain the information that I'm posting is accurate. And I'll say this really quickly. I saw an agent one time who had posted about a new program that came out. It was a financing program. And she did this, I think it was on Instagram. And she talked about how great the program was. And she was telling everybody this is a great option and I'm getting my certification. And she talked about how wonderful the program was. Well, I guess it was probably a couple of months later, came across her again. And apparently the qualifications or the details of that program had changed. And she actually said, I'm no longer promoting this program because these things have changed. and I do not think this is a good product any longer. And that stuck with me because that wasn't something that she had to do. That was her personal integrity and her personal brand to come back and let her followers know that, hey, 2 months ago, this was great, but some things have changed about it and it hasn't. So I think we have to definitely take that as a personal duty. Continue to be involved in activities with your associations, your state groups, your state organizations, your local organizations. Be involved in those meetings because you hear and see so many things that are relevant to your business that you may not run across in other arenas. Just be fully immersed into the industry. This is your career choice. This is your brand. This is who you decided to be. And there's a lot out there that we need to know in order to serve our clients the way they should be served. And that's our duty to do that. Otherwise, just lead with that integrity and confidence, and just do the right thing. We just have to
Yeah.
continue to do the right thing.
Mary Ann asked a question of us, Elka. She's like, well, are
Okay.
you going to talk about ways to sell and sustain business? Are we going to talk about that? And I could say, Mary Ann, I think we've kind of been talking about it in a roundabout way the whole time, which is the key in real estate is people have to like you and they have to trust you in order to do business with you. And if they don't like you and they don't trust you, they won't do business with you. And I think from two practitioners, and really there's a slew of other people, they can tell you that the way they like you and the way they trust you, the way they trust you is you have to know your stuff, and you have to be able to disseminate your stuff. And you generally have to do that in a professional manner. And the more professional you are, the faster somebody's going to trust you,
Right.
without a doubt. Right.
Mhm.
And they have to like you. And the liking part is where you obviously connect with somebody, at least on the residential side of the business, emotionally. Um, and that's important. Don't get me wrong, that's important. But it doesn't mean that you're connecting with them, sharing, maybe your political views or your religious views, although I know people do that also and find a group, and that's fine. But make sure, once again, they got to like you and they got to trust you, and really leading with professionalism is the key.
Mhm.
And understanding that professionalism should be a part of your business plan. And and how are you going to present yourself? How are you going to conduct yourself? Because you might get your mom, you might get your sister, your brother, your cousin. You might get those deals because they know you and they're like, I feel obligated. And by all means, you should get those deals when you get in the real estate industry. Do not
Mhm.
look past them. Do not think you're not worthy. You are worthy. You've gone through the education, you've got licensed, you passed tests, you've sat in these webinars, get that business. But when you want to expand beyond that original sphere of people, you got to lead with professionalism. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But if you're not leading with professionalism, ain't nobody going to trust you.
Awesome. Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
right on. Right on. Well, I tell you what, we are right at time, Elka, and I wanted to say thank you very much for participating in this today. And I know that at Kaplan, we enjoy you. We enjoy how you interact with the students, and I love your really kind of focus on education. You're clearly a professional, a student and educator, and that shows. And so super excited to have you here, and super excited that you could share the time with us and the students and would-be students.
Thank you so much for having me, Toby. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody, if you want to continue the conversation, you can go to the real estate professional community at Kaplan and interact. Jamie Cash is already there. She's has opened up in the chat for the community. You can just click the link. I know that Elka can also respond in the forum, and Jamie will make sure that happens. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending the Real Expert webinar, and Elka, thank you again.
Thank you.
Very good.